Hello, hello. Good to see everybody again today, or talk to everybody again today. This could be a potential problem, not, I don't know, but I was scanning the technology headlines, and right now we are talking about the coronavirus and this coronavirus tracking smartphone apps. Don't invade privacy, says data watchdog. Now, this is an article on Microsoft News. It was done by Danny Palmer in March. It is about England specifically. He starts off with, it's okay for the government to use smartphone location tracking data to help fight and monitor the spread of coronavirus, so long as the data is anonymized, the Information Commissioner's Office had said. And the Information Commissioner's Office is, again, in England. It's like would be like one of our cabinet positions here in the state. So the government has reportedly held talks with mobile phone operators to use location and usage data to track movements of UK citizens in an effort to identify patterns, track the spread of the virus, and ensure social distancing and lockdowns are being adhered to. And now the ICO, again, the Information Commissioner's Office, the UK's data protection watchdog, has approved the use of location tracking in order to help during the coronavirus crisis, so long as the data is anonymized to protect the privacy of individuals. Now I'm going to stop here for just a second and mention that the United States Census, which is going on now, also uses anonymized data. My hackles raise immediately. I'm not sure what to think. Let me continue with the article here. Generalized location data trend analysis is helping to tackle the crisis. Where this data is properly anonymized and aggregated, it does not fall under data protection law because no individual is identified, said ICO Deputy Commissioner Steve Wood. In these circumstances, privacy laws are not breached as long as the appropriate safeguards are in place. And again, this is in the UK. They talk about how the ICO has provided advice on how data protection laws can be flexibly applied to protect lives and data. And some countries, including Israel, Singapore, and South Korea, are already tracing location data in an effort to track the spread of coronavirus, while other countries, including the US and the UK, are examining the prospect of doing so. But while the tracking of location data is being used in an effort to protect people, the practice has raised potential privacy concerns, particularly if the anonymized data can be pieced back together to identify individual users. Now again, let me stop here and say, for example, with the 2020 census, we have been repeatedly assured that the data is properly anonymized, that it cannot be pieced back together, and that the actual US Census uses a lot of data noise and other things to really protect the anonymity of the data that is put in. So it ensures that everyone is counted, that what your individual answers were for your household can't be traced back to one person or another. If they continue to do this, and if these are the standards that are being used, that would be acceptable, I guess, as possible. Not that they're asking my opinion, but you know. As technology is deployed to help fight the coronavirus, data protection has increasingly come under the spotlight. Last week, it was revealed that U.S. technology companies, including Amazon, Microsoft, and Palantir, are set to help the National Health Service. And again, the National Health Service is in the UK. So these are US companies, Amazon, Microsoft, and Palantir, are going to help the UK collect and analyze patient data. We need to make sure that they have proper purge cycles there when that the records will be destroyed when the crisis is over, and this is not going to be used against people. The companies will gather data to help the NHS understand trends and how COVID-19 outbreak is developing and how the health service can best react, arguing that it needs a data store because without a single place to gather and analyze this data, decision makers are unable to move quickly as the response demands. No, they have a point. That's definitely have a point. And the England will create a data store for multiple data sources, such as the 111 online and call center data. That's, of course, their 911. The NHS digital and COVID-19 test results data from Public Health England. In a blog post, the Department of Health said that the NHS is facing an unprecedented challenge in responding to this pandemic and outlined how collected data will be collated into a single source of truth, here quoted, to track and understand the crisis. It said that all the data in the data store is anonymous. This is really important. Subject to strict controls to ensure that individuals cannot be re-identified, like removing identifiers such as name and address and replacing these with a pseudonym. GDPR principles will be followed. For example, the data will only be used for COVID-19 and not for any other purpose, and only relevant information will be collected. In this time of crisis, we need the private sector to play its part to tackle these unprecedented challenges. Our technology partners are subject to the same strict rules for information governance that we follow in our day-to-day work. Now, with the GDPR, I was again curious about that, so let me pull up. I pulled here this data anonymization from Wikipedia. You can see the link here. And the GDPR down here, European Union's new General Data Protection Regulation, that was from 2016, I believe, demands that stored data on people in the EU undergo either anonymization or pseudo-anonymization process. Includes what we just talked about, where they took data from real people but gave them pseudonyms. GDPR recital establishes a very high bar for what constitutes anonymous data, thereby exempting the data from the requirements from the GDPR, namely information which does not relate to an identified or identifiable natural person or to personal data rendered anonymous in such a manner that the data subject is not or no longer identifiable. So that's actually the requirement. The information that would be in the tables, this isn't fully complete, my apologies, but the information that would be released does not relate to an identified or identifiable natural person or to personal data rendered. It has to be rendered anonymous in such a manner that the data subject is not or no longer identifiable. That's a mouthful to say there, but it is data anonymization. It is important, and the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, is a pretty strong regulation. It seems to be as strong as what was done for the United States Census. So hopefully this will work out all right. They'll have a good purge of that data when we no longer need it, and this should work out fine. If you have any more ideas for videos or whatnot, please let me know, and I'll see you next time.